Hello everyone! Do you have problem controlling your zombies? Looking for hot god girl cosplay? Well, this is a video for you then. Today we're doing the Mother of Zombies cosplay, the one and only Liliana Vess from Magic the Gathering. In the process of making this cosplay, I actually had to move suddenly and unexpectedly, so I had to sadly make some sacrifices on the quality, but in all the chaos and stress, I am just happy to get this finished in time for an event. So join me on the road of chaos and destruction that was making of this cosplay. We're going to start with the corset that is filled with lies. I started with making adjustments to the basic pattern and then cutting it out of old sheets. Then I sewed it together to make a mock-up and see if the fit is correct. After checking and fixing the fit, I drew on the mock-up the final pattern of the corset and cut out the final pattern pieces. I cut out the final pattern pieces out of my fabric. Then I made straps 3 cm wide out of the accent fabric I chose to make details on the corset. I then pinned them on the side edges of the pattern pieces and covered the whole middle piece with the accent fabric. Then I sewed together all the pieces except for the middle one, while my cat was being a menace to society, and by society I mean me. She was being a menace to me. The middle part requested more work. First I sewed the string to make loops for the corset detail. Then I sewed a strip of gold fabric on the sides and sewed together all the remaining fabric pieces. With that we have finished the front of the corset, but we still need to make a structure for it. I reused the mock-up I tried on before and cut it out of stiff material to hold shape and also from black lining. I attached interfacing to the lining to make it sturdier and easier to work with. After that, I sewed together the lining parts and the mock-up parts. The cat is once again in my way and is no help whatsoever, and I am sewing everything just out of frame, so what else is new on this channel? When they were both sewn, I ironed the seams and fusioned them together by sewing the place to hold my lice and corset bones. Then I put in the lice and the bones. Then I attached the front fabric to the support we just made. I attached it with hand stitches on the top side first, and then I checked the fit again. After that I sewed on an old bra I had lying around. After that I hand stitched the bottom part of the corset. Then I put the zipper in and made a few hand stitches to keep it in place. Then I threaded the corset. After that I made sleeves. For the sleeves I just winged the pattern and attached accent color step, then gathered some white lace I had and sewed that on as well. I sewed the sleeves together and I attached it by hand on the corset as well as straps from the bra, and I am incapable of sewing in frame apparently. And with that the corset was done. Then we're moving on to the skirt. I started with an old sheet that I wrapped around my mannequin and drew the pattern pieces directly on the fabric, while also having an existential crisis apparently. Then I took the fabric of the mannequin and cut the pattern out. Then I joined the floor gang, since in the place I live in, I don't have enough tables to make patterns on. Then, just like on the corset, I sewed the strips of accent color in between the pattern pieces. Then I put the pattern pieces together. I overlocked the edges of the skirt and hemmed it down. After that I cut out the pattern pieces of the skirt again, but this time in the accent fabric. I sewed everything together and I used a French seam, so I hid all the edges since this fabric is transparent. I cut out strips of fabric and sewed them together to make a very long strip. Then I gathered the long strip of fabric. I really hope everyone is enjoying the cat bloopers because she made this project so much more difficult. Then I sewed the ruffles all around the edge. After that I overlocked everything to prevent loose threads. After that I put the two pieces together and hand sewed the edge of both pieces with the ruffles looking out of the edge of the skirt. Here is a little more quality control. Thank you, cat, that was super helpful. After that I made the waist and sewed it on the skirt. Then I attached the presses because I still avoid buttons and the skirt was done. Then I'm moving on to the leggings. I started by making the pattern to go over the shoes. For that I used the foil and tape method. So I taped over my leg and shoe and got the pattern. Then I attached that to this wonderful pattern for leggings I have that, I definitely need a new one. After some fusing, I have the final new pattern. Then I cut out the pattern pieces. First, I cut out the middle front piece in the grey fabric and the rest I cut out the black fabric. For the fabric, I'm just using some jersey I had at home. Then I made the corset detail on the leggings just like I made on the corset. I took the strip of fabric that I reinforced with interfacing and made loops on it. I put the corset detail together with the front fabric and started attaching the pattern pieces around. I also included the same detail as on the corset and skirt of sewing a strip of fabric in between the fabric pieces. After attaching all the pieces together, I checked the fit and made some alterations. Then I attached the over the shoe part on the leggings. After that we only have a few details left. First I threaded the corset and after that I glued some leftover leather pieces I had to the bottom. With that we have all the clothing pieces done, but now it's time for accessories. The easiest to do were gloves. I just winged the pattern based on few measurements, sewed together the tube, hemmed the edges and sewed the elastic for the finger. Then I attached the lace on the glove by hand as well as sewing the elastic to keep the glove on my arm. Then I made the chain veil. I cut the rough shape of the veil from gold fabric and sewn it together. Then I started attaching the chains and more chains. Then I ran out of those chains and I bought new chains and then attached more chains. Then I also hand sewed some lace I had lying around and painted it gold. And I also sewed on some pearls. I also made loops so the veil is attached to the belt. And that's it for the veil. After that the only thing left to do is the pain of my entire existence, and it's this headpiece. Since this was done in a bit of panic state, I don't have all the footage, so I will put an equally accurate video of the process in its place. There we go. First I took Gertruda and tried the pattern I made out of paper on her. When I was happy with the pattern, I cut it out of Eva foam. Oh yeah, this is also the first time I was using Eva foam. So I glued all the pieces together and shaped it with a hairdryer. I then glued on the detail on the top of the headpiece. After that, things went horribly wrong. I don't have a lot of footage from this point, since I was in tears for the rest of the process, but that's why we have the visual representation. So as I said, I never made anything from Eva foam before, so the gluing process wasn't very smooth and I had some gaps I wanted to fill them in. I wanted to use quick seal, but I didn't realize that the iron curtain is back up and this item is not available in my country. So I saw a tutorial once 2 years ago that you can fill the gaps with gesso, I think that's how you pronounce it, as well as prime the EVA foam with it. And they sell that in my country, surprisingly. So I went with that. The gaps weren't filling in very well, and at this point we are very close to the event in our timeline. This is like 4 days before the event, so I was already panicking and just splashing this stuff everywhere. I heard you can send this stuff and I wanted to put some bumps out, and apparently that's a no-no, and then this happened. So then I was done with this material and decided to prime the whole thing with wood glue, hoping it would save everything, but it made it much worse. It made it so bad I actually had to make another headpiece, and I just glued it much nicer together this time and primed it with wood glue. And we're on day 3 before the event now. So I waited overnight for the glue to dry, and the next day I sat down and started airbrushing, or so I fucking thought. The airbrush said no, and I spent 3 goddamn hours cleaning it with my tears. After the airbrush was ready to cooperate, I first airbrushed it with white paint to hide some stuff, and I also primed it with surface primer just in case, so the color would really stick on. So the color didn't stick on. I ran to the craft store and bought some cheap gold acrylic paint, and that one stuck on the headpiece. So I was done with the headpiece like a day before the event. Yeah, great. I glued some fabric pieces on the headpiece and sewed it on the wig. And not sure how, but it somehow turned out okay. And we're done, and it somehow turned out okay, but I'm still not sure. I really pulled that one out of my ass. So as I mentioned, I wanted to complicate this cosplay a lot more, but I decided on the simpler version. I mean, I had to if I didn't want to go to event naked. I went to our local convention called MofuCon, and it was a lot of fun. And after that I also went to a birthday party in my cosplay, and it actually held up very nicely. I was very surprised. I am very happy I was actually able to finish this cosplay and to wear it to an event. Overall, it was a fun project to make, and the final product is nice. Anyway, thank you for joining me on this chaos and destruction of making the Liliana cosplay, and I will see you next time. Bye!